New Macs and iPads? Good? Bad? Or who cares? Welcome back to the channel. So as you heard, Apple just dropped a whole bunch of new products. So what did we get? We got the brand new M4 MacBook Air. We got the new Mac Studio. We got a couple iPads as well. Now, a lot of these things are kind of what we expected, but a few of them have me scratching my head. But of course, this is typical Apple with every single launch, right? Every single time they launch something, we have some highs, we have some lows. We kind of go through this roller coaster of events. It's just typical Apple, in my opinion. This time, though, for me, it's actually quite different. I thought about it for a while, and I'm like, who cares, right? I think these are good enough, and I'm going to explain why. I mean, for sure, right? There's a ton of more things more important in the world to beep about any day, right? So this isn't too bad. Let's get into it. Okay, so the brand new M4 MacBook Air launched today, and actually, I'm quite happy about this one, and hear me out for a second. So we got all the small changes they promised us, but for once, we actually got a little bit more with this one, a little bit more than we expected. So overall, this is the one that I'm probably the most happy with, and let me just share why. Okay, for starters, we got this new sky blue color. Take a look at this thing. It's beautiful, right? And overall, I mean, from someone that got the midnight blue sitting right here with the skin on it, this thing's perfect because it's that lighter color. It's not going to show as many fingerprints. It's a beautiful color. It's kind of neutral, but I think this is going to be one of their #1 sellers, right? So that's a huge plus. Now, being a YouTuber of my age, I feel kind of weird talking about a color of a laptop for being one of the reasons you should buy it. Now, if that's the only reason you're upgrading, you should definitely go get some professional help. I have some numbers for you, right? Besides that, though, if it's another reason for it because you just like it, plus you want more improved performance, then you want to get this. But don't go with just the color, but still, the color is pretty beautiful, right? Okay, the color that lost this time is space gray. Now, they got rid of space gray with the MacBook Air. Now, I don't think there's any other products that Apple's offering. Someone's got a vendetta against space gray for some reason. I personally don't care. Post in the comments, do you even care about this as well? Okay, now the second big winner here is the price. This is a shocker to me. Apple's actually offering this at $100 cheaper than last year's model. And this is crazy, right? So it starts at $999 and $899 if you get the student discount. So it's under, quite a bit under $1,000 for the starting price. They completely dropped the price here, which is pretty incredible overall. I mean, with inflation right now and possible tariffs coming in the future, I didn't think Apple was going to do this, all right? But the one thing that's funny to me is if Apple would have just, instead of giving us the $100, they'd have just given us 512 gigabytes on the SSD standard, I think it would have been a bigger overall hit. Instead, they gave us the $100, and it would have cost Apple cheaper to do that. So who knows what they're doing, but overall, I'll take it, $100 cheaper. We all win with that. Then we got a couple of little small features that we were expecting. So we obviously got the 16 gigs of RAM standard. That's huge, right? Obviously for everybody, especially under the $1,000 price point. We also got a 12 megapixel camera with, what is it called? Center stage and desktop view. Nobody uses desktop view, so who cares, right? And then the other one is this is a big one though. We actually got the Airs now allow up to two 6K external displays. Plus you can use the middle screen as a monitor as well. That's pretty big. And then we got some increased battery life, but those were all expected. So it didn't shock me. I mean, the only negative that we actually see here is it's starting again with 256 gigs of RAM in 2025. This is like the first computer to launch like that. I mean, it's pretty incredible, right? I mean, let's think about this. I mean, let's put a pack together right now. If they still do this in 2026, nobody's going to buy this computer. You got to promise me that. Now, wait a second. I did this 3 years in a row and I'm still buying them. I'm the stupid one. Apple's smart. So unless we all put a stand to this and stop doing it, they're going to keep doing it. It's probably the worst part of this, but overall, I like the MacBook Air, the M4 MacBook Air. It's probably my favorite product of the whole launch. What do you guys think? And again, don't change because of that new color, or you're crazy. Okay, the next one here is going to be the Mac Studio, and this is going to be the one that has all of the YouTubers crying and all their panties in a bunch, but is it warranted? Okay, let me just say it right off the bat. So we're getting the M4 Max chip with this, but then we're getting the M3 Ultra. Yeah, the M3 Ultra. So we're getting an M3 Ultra chip, not an M4. But I'm actually going to be fine with this. And if you look at the benchmarks versus just the actual product name or the chip name, you're not going to really complain about this. And I'll get into that in a second. So we'll come back to that. But first, I want to talk about kind of the Mac that everyone's going to buy anyway. I mean, let's just talk about this one. This is the M4 Max version right here, and you can see it starts at $19.99. It's got 36 gigs of RAM, 512 gigabyte SSD, and it's pretty incredible for that price. Plus, we're going to maybe find that for $17.99. So I think that's the winner. This is the one 90% of all Mac Studio buyers are going to buy. So while everyone's going to complain about that M3 Ultra chip, which they should, and I'll tell you in a second, it doesn't really matter because no one's going to really buy that. There's going to be a few YouTubers and a few people that think they're all that, but most people are going to buy this one over here. Now, obviously, this can add up very quickly when you add storage and RAM and everything else, and this has only got the base level as far as cores and GPUs. You can add that up, but overall, I think that's the one people are still going to buy. Okay, so now let's talk about the elephant in the room, or at least what people think it's going to be. But again, I want to hear me out for a second, because I think this is totally the wrong way to look at this. You got to look at it the right way and say, who cares? Like I said earlier, just pretend like Apple doesn't come out with the name of the chip with the computer. Let's just say they named it the M4 Ultra. When you see the benchmarks drop, it's going to be the fastest computer that Apple's ever made there by quite a bit, all right? Now, it's going to be expensive too, so people that complain aren't going to be able to afford it either. So that's one reason for it. But I mean, overall, you just got to look at the overall picture here. It's going to be probably the fastest performing Mac of all time. It's going to be phenomenal. And there's some reasons why they did this, and I'll get into it in a second. But you just got to take that approach. Again, like I said earlier, I mean, just who cares? I mean, this thing starts, look at here, with 28-core CPU, 60-core GPU. It starts with 96 gigabytes of RAM, a 1 terabyte SSD, but it's almost $4,000. And this thing can go up, way up to over 10 or 15,000. I think it's around 15,000 totally spec'd out. So unless you have a trust fund, right, or you have a couple Bitcoin in your wallet there, I don't think this is going to be what people are buying. I think they're going to be buying the one over here, right? So again, when you get your panties in a bunch about this, right, it's not really that important. And when they don't even, if I was Apple, I would name that something completely different, and then people wouldn't be like this. They would see the performance numbers and they just wouldn't care. All right, so why did Apple actually do this then? Why did they actually do this to upset people? Well, there's a couple of reasons. Number one, and I don't think this is the reason, is maybe the M4 Ultra chip wasn't ready. But I don't see that being the reason, because they have to work a long time on the M3 Ultra to get that ready. And if they weren't going to come out with it, they wouldn't have done that. So I think that's obviously not the real reason why they're doing this. I think the real reason why they're doing this is so that people can have a different option for the Mac Pro. So unless they're not going to have the Mac Pro, but if they are having the Mac Pro, they want to reserve the M4 Ultra chip for that. Otherwise, it's going to go away it's going to be a paperweight, basically. No one's going to buy it. So they have to differentiate those two systems, and I think this is the way they're going to do it. They figured that the M3 Ultra is just so fast, much faster than the M2 Ultra, and must be even faster than the M4 Max, that it's going to basically be good enough for most people. And then they're going to go with the Mac Pro, this time with the M4 Ultra, which nobody will buy either. So again, don't worry about it, because at the end of the day, nobody's going to buy it much anyway. Okay, for the next product here, let's talk about one of my favorite products, the 11th Gen iPad, all right? So I know what you're going to say right away. Same thing. It only launches with the A16. They should have launched with the A17 Pro. It doesn't get Apple Intelligence. Everyone's going to be screaming about this. Everyone's going to be talking about this, but does it really matter? Actually, I like this product a lot, this launch a lot. Now, why is it? Number one, the price stays exactly the same. That's good, right? We're going to get about a 30% performance increase to that A16 chip. That's great as well. And Apple, again, is giving us an extra 64 gigs of storage. So instead of 64 gigs standard, it's going up to 128, and it's all for the exact same cost. So for everybody using iPads out there to go on YouTube, to check emails, to do very basic things like that, to waste a ton of time at their normal job while they're doing nothing, things like that, right? This can handle it just like the old one could, and it can do it even better. And this is the iPad that almost everyone should buy if you just do basic iPad stuff, standard stuff. And even the people that think they're good, too good for this, and they want to buy the iPad Pro in most cases, those people should be buying this too. I mean, let's just be honest. You can watch the same episode of Severance on both, the iPad Pro and also the iPad 11th Gen. I mean, obviously the blacks won't be as deep on the 11th Gen, but overall the content's going to be exactly the same, and you're going to save $700. Oh yeah, before I get a ton of hate mail down in the comments, there's a couple people out there that actually need the iPad Pro. Maybe they do something for work or something. That's 5% of people. For everybody else that wants to pay their rent on time and maybe put their kids through college, just buy the 11th Gen because it's a great system. Now, everything else stays the same, and we'll get into the Apple Intelligence in a second, but all the other stuff really stays the same. And I think even the 4 gigabytes of RAM, which I'm not 100% on that, but I'm pretty sure that's staying the same there. So overall, I think that could be maybe the only miss here is they could have maybe bumped it up just a little bit, but it still performs well, my last one, so I think this will do the same. So why in the world then would Apple launch a new product without Apple Intelligence? And I was like, I'm thinking about it for a second and I'm like, you know what? Who cares? Here we go again, right? I mean, let's think about this for a second. I can pull up ChatGPT, I can pull up Gemini, I can do whatever I want to get some kind of intelligence if I need it. Plus, I have it on my phone already, I have it on my Mac. Hey, as long as the price stays the same at $350 and it's going to be $299 on sale, that's going to be awesome. And I can get more storage there and a faster chip. I'm golden, right? I don't need anything more. Plus, there's even more. I mean, the reason you buy this tablet at $350 or even lower than that is because it's the best possible tablet you can buy for that cost. The best across the board. You tell me of a better tablet. And it's actually kind of refreshing that Apple's not sucking all your memory away for Apple Intelligence when you barely use it. I mean, the only downside to me, and I'm thinking about it, is going to be what happens if Apple comes out with this killer kind of AI feature in the next year or two, and then I don't have Apple Intelligence. That's really the only thing that would really affect me right now. But I was thinking about it. All I got to do then is just put it up for sale. I could sell it for $250 to somebody else that doesn't care about it and just buy the next version next year that probably is going to include it. So overall, like I said, it's just a fresh of breath air maybe to just have one of my kind of tablets, computers and everything a little bit distance from AI. So I can live a normal life. And then finally, we get to the beloved M3 iPad Air. All right. Now, this is another one where all of the kind of people talking about this are going to be complaining. They're going to be like, we wanted the M4, we wanted the M4, why the M3, why the M3? And what do I have to say to that? I say, you could get away with the M1 or the M2. No iPad in the world, especially with iPad OS, needs anything more than an M1 or an M2. An M3 is overkill for it, and an M4 is completely ridiculous. If it can save me a little bit of money and the cost doesn't go up, give me the M3 because I can do anything with the M3 that I could do with the M4. I mean, let's just be honest here. This thing is limited by the OS in some ways. And again, there's going to be some people that can use it, but it's a very, very small amount. So I'm totally fine with this. I mean, it's still going to fly, right, as far as speed, and it's a great alternative if you want to save some money over the iPad Pro. Now, all the other people are going to be complaining that I wish it had an OLED, I wish it had an OLED, I need the OLED because I got to watch my, Breaking Bad and with the deep blacks and in perfect condition. I need to see all of that in the best format that it was produced in. Well, then get an iPad Pro, spend the money. But if they give it the OLED, then we got to get rid of the Air here because it doesn't really have a place any longer, right? The cost is going to go up. It's going to be too close. So overall, I think this is actually exactly what Apple needed to do. Basically, nothing. Just give us the faster chip and let's move on. Okay, so this year I decided to take a different approach on things, and I'm actually much happier for it. I mean, this is actually obviously a first world problem. We're sitting here complaining about if something's good enough or not good enough, and they're all good enough. And like I said, who cares, right? At the end of the day, you're either going to swipe your credit card or you're not, depending on the features, the pricing that Apple gives to you. And if you're watching this video, I'm guessing you're going to swipe it no matter what. And that's what Apple knows. So Apple only has to do the bare minimum. They kind of slowly, throw us a bone every once in a while, every couple of years, but the rest of it's going to be just like this, small incremental changes that it's not that we're happy with them, but we accept them because we have to. And if you take the approach of just who cares, you're a lot happier. Just take my word on it. So we're going to wrap up this video. I hope it helps. It's a little bit raw because I have to compete with the big YouTubers with a whole team of video editors to get it out in the same day. I can do it by myself. It's not as good, but still. We'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.